13 it says, going back to believe not. Now, and they went and told it unto, or actually verse 11, and they, of chapter 16 of Mark, and they, when they had heard that he was alive, and had been seen of her, believed not. When they had heard that he was alive. They heard these women, these prophetesses, these preachers, and the prophetesses, they come and tell these disciples. It says, they heard. They, what? Believe not. And if you're reading through the New Testament, you should be able to see this, and it should register in your mind. They believe not. What does believe not? They didn't believe that Jesus Christ rose from the dead. Alright? They didn't believe that Christ Jesus rose up from the dead. They didn't. Why? They put on the old man. They put on the old man. The old man was put on. They quenched the Spirit of God, and they put on the old man, and they said, no, he did not rise from the dead. That's not true. Now we'll see later, they go even worse than that, because it says in verse 13, but we'll see in the book of Luke though. And they went and told it unto the residue. So I was talking about these two of them, and so forth. And he appeared in another form unto two of them. So the Lord appeared unto two men, and walked and they went into a far country. And they went and told it unto the residue, neither believed they them. So they told it this far country here, and the disciples there and everything, neither believed they them. These two men that heard this and so forth, and that the Lord appeared to, and they go into a far country. Then the fact of the matter is, the people that they went into, the residue, so these people they were believers, these disciples there in the far country, neither believed they them. The two that saw Jesus, and Jesus spoke to them what happened, his resurrection, everything, he's alive. And verse 14, afterward he appeared unto the 11 as they sat at meat, and upbraided them with their unbelief. They got the old man on. They have the big time unbelief. Believe not, unbelief. And a hardness of heart. They had a hardness of heart. This is pretty hardcore. Because they believe not. And how many times I say believe not? I said believe not in verse 11. Unbelief in verse 14. Hardness of heart and believe not. Let's say 4 times. Not them which had seen. They believe not them which had seen him after he was risen. These disciples, they didn't believe. These disciples, they didn't believe it after Christ rose, in the report that was saying Christ is alive. The Messiah has come back from the dead. The Christ. And verse 15 says, and he said unto them, go ye in all the world and preach the gospel to every creature. And then he just says, look, Christ is there. Well, actually, this is when Christ was actually speaking. Here we go into, right before that was the 2 men. But this is when Christ was sitting there and he's or whatever, talking with them. And they totally don't believe at all. They don't believe at all. And then he says, go ye into all the world and preach the gospel to every creature. So we'll move on to Luke.